Every Goliath manufacturer from Germany has had their own rite of passage from which a new world-class model was born. 40 years ago for Mercedes, it was this, the 190e. Now, thought of by some as a cute little sedan built for upselling Accord owners here in North America. In reality, however, they quickly realized this was a toned-down, homologated version of whatever that was, slamming curbs and chasing down E30 M3s over in DTM land. A lightweight divergence from the S-Class and whatever luxury cachet the brand had built over the years. What was once a turning point for the brand has slowly evolved into this, the 2022 Mercedes C300. It's been a long run, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I'm a little scared it'll be about as forgetful of its rich and well-earned DNA as the M3 has been of its good looks. Let's go for a drive. And what an evolution it's been. I mean, the C-Class is no longer the bottom of the Mercedes lineup, but because Mercedes has come out with vehicles like the A-Class sedan, the CLA Class sedan, and of course, AMG models like the A45, the C-Class kind of just moved up market. It's taking more cues, especially visually, from the S-Class. We see that when we look at the rear tail lights. And this one has an entirely redesigned front end. The one I'm driving today, and I'll get to some of the options, has the AMG front end. So when you option the AMG package, the visual package, you get a few different changes, and one of those changes is the addition of an entirely different front bumper. So there are two distinct noses for this car. And I like the way this one looks. It's got that new Mercedes star pattern in the grille there. This one's been optioned in chrome so you can see it. It's a good looking car, but at the same time, can you guys tell this apart from a CLA or an A-Class sedan? It's becoming tougher and tougher. It's almost lost its place in the Mercedes lineup. And because Mercedes has about 1,000 models to choose from, it's really tough to make a distinctive Mercedes product within the lineup now. So all-wheel drive hybrid, we should have pretty good torque. Let's do a little bit of a launch, see how it does. Very little boost lag, if any at all. 9-speed shifts smoothly. Does 0 to 60 in about 6 seconds, just under 6. Which doesn't seem quick, but it is plenty quick here. So here, the one I'm driving today, base price is $56,000 Canadian. Optioned out here, it's about $68,000 Canadian. New powertrain for this model year. This C300 is in fact the first Mercedes car to have the new 48-volt hybrid system integrated into a 4-cylinder engine. So it's a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder under the hood, 255 horsepower, 295 pound-feet of torque. There is an overboost function, so momentarily on full throttle, you are able to get a little bit more torque out of the engine. It's paired with a 9-speed transmission. It's been updated for this new C-Class. Shifts a little bit smoother. It's also packaged a little bit differently. It's been tuned differently, which we'll get to later. And yeah, I know it's a bit silly to have a direct comparison between a C300 and a 190e, but just to demonstrate the difference, this new model is about 200 pounds heavier than the 2021 model, and it's about 1,000 pounds heavier than that 190e. But if you guys listen closely, you'll hear Mercedes whispering how the newly updated 9-speed is 30% lighter. Remember that. And not only is the wheelbase of this car 1 inch longer than the previous generation, it's 7 inches longer than that 190e. Just to give you guys an idea of how this car's actually grown. This generation's also a little bit wider. So it's not only taking visual cues from the S-Class now, but a little bit of that luxury as well. It kind of rides that fine line. And yes, while this sacrifice in DNA, just based off size and weight alone, is kind of a downside on the car, it's partially forgiven. I'll give Mercedes a little bit of a pass because cars like the A45 are so chuckable, even despite their kind of try-hard nature. What original DNA from the 190E here has made its way into the new C-Class, and what has been lost? You guys got to remember, okay, the original 190E was an E30 M3 competitor, a real homologation race car built for the road, and especially when we're talking the Evo 1 and Evo 2 models, incredibly rare and now incredibly expensive. But the fundamentals, okay, and it's automatic. By the way, this one I'm driving today, unfortunately, is not manual. My buddy Sid, who owns this car and about 4 other 190Es, has big plans, which maybe you guys will see in the future. But the real DNA here is just a lightweight, rear-wheel drive, raw experience for the road. An entry-level compact sedan. When you push it, then that's when the DNA would start to come out and when you would actually begin to feel the raw driving dynamics come through. So when we're talking the 2.3 16 valve, of course, that one was equipped with a 5-speed Getrag manual transmission, very robust car, and technology at the time, much like the new C-Class, it had self-leveling suspension. And we're talking back in the 80s here, rev to 7,000 RPM. And of course, it had a limited slip differential in the back, an electronically controlled limited slip differential, might I add, and it weighed far less than 3,000 pounds. In essence, the C-Class still carries at least a little bit of the DNA here in terms of tech forward thinking, while not diving into the deep end of the luxury models that Mercedes builds, like the S-Class. Even without adaptive suspension here, one size fits all for the suspension, it does have a self-leveling suspension, much like the original 190E 2.3 16 valve. It strikes a good balance between being incredibly soft on the freeway, really comfortable, very quiet car, but at the same time, in Sport Plus here, steering weight's up a little bit. Not really, it's still incredibly light and not much fuel is coming through, but the ride itself, it's still very comfortable, while at the same time you're able to be a little bit more nimble a lot more nimble in the corners than an S-Class and that air suspension. This is worthy to note, when you're coming to a stop and the regen braking is doing its thing, it interferes a little bit with the brake pedal. It took me a while to get used to. I was like, what is going on? Why can't I brake as evenly or as responsive as I would in any other normal car? So you can feel, if you're paying attention, the kind of inconsistent brake feel, especially around the city. The real advantage with this 48-volt system is it can keep your air conditioning on, your heated seats and everything on for much longer when you're at a stoplight and the engine is turned off. When I'm coasting up to a stoplight, it will turn the engine off before I actually come to a complete stop, saving a little bit of fuel. And as well, when I'm coasting and let off the throttle, we're in eco mode, the engine will shut off as it did there, just saving you a little bit of fuel. And over time, of course, all those little moments where the engine is off will add up. So there is some trickle down from the S-Class in the new C-Class. First of which, of course, is this new touchscreen display, which we did see in the S-Class, of course. So not only is the center screen tilted slightly towards the driver, if you look closely, the entire dashboard is actually slanted slightly towards the driver, meaning this side of the dash is actually pushed a little bit closer to your passenger than it is on this side. And we can see that here when we look at the vents and the rest of the dash compared to both the speaker and the seat controls here. There's a bigger gap, and then you see here it's much closer. So the entire dashboard is kind of angled like that. Now, hopefully providing a little bit more room for the driver here. It also has the digital instrument cluster here, which you can adjust on this optional flat bottom AMG steering wheel, which of course also has haptic feedback buttons on here. This is the new style steering wheel. I haven't decided if it's easier than the previous generation or a little bit tougher, just because there are 4 general points of contact versus just 2. We've got our sports setup here. We've got engine data. We can see how much boost we're making. Now, this touchscreen takes a little bit to get used to as well, but climate, most of the climate is always on the bottom here. And like I said, it takes a little bit to get used to. We do have a few options for materials here. No carbon fiber, but there are a few wood trim options that are extra, and then you can option this center bit here with a few materials as well. This one has not been optioned with the leather seats. Believe it or not, $68,000 is not the top spec for the new C300. You can go higher. I'd imagine you could probably get one to about $71,000. The seats are great. They've got great side bolsters, but it's still a base model C-Class. So the thigh bolsters here are still small. So getting in and out of the vehicle is much easier than some of the other AMG products. Now, you know, build quality is good. Mercedes has not, you know, they've kind of flatlined in terms of the base quality that you get for the money, just kind of feeling around certain things in the cabin here. But overall, it's great. You know, this optional AMG wheel is perforated leather here, so a few of the touch points are leather, and that's great. And then, of course, swipe to close and swipe to open, and that's done with, and then it's been optioned with the Burmeister audio system as well. Oh, also, very, very fake exhaust tips. Yeah, that goes nowhere. Does it get me excited about the new C63? 670 horsepower from a turbocharged 4-cylinder paired with a hybrid system. Only with context. You know, I kind of have to view this as an entirely new book for Mercedes. Look, we're going into a hybrid future. That's just what all of these cars are. We're seeing it on the upper end with Ferrari and all these manufacturers making hybrid hypercars and supercars. We can reminisce for as long as we possibly want on, now looking back, the very short period of time where we were able to just slay tires in our V8 powered C63 AMGs. We really have to look at this as just an entirely new book for Mercedes. And it's not just like the next chapter, it's the new C63 will be just an entirely new take and kind of not really comparable to the old C-Class. In order to make up for that impending doom of lost analog feel and roaring V8s, the answer is just more tech, more safety, more power, more everything, minus more feel. And they're trying to make up for it, right? You know, more of everything. It's kind of like a kid in a candy store. And when you look at the 190e, that's basically the opposite of what the 190e did. The 190e stripped everything away. It went back to basics. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit me up on Instagram if you want to see what I'm shooting on a daily basis. And if you want to check out some of our merch, you can hit up roadsuntraveled.com. The link is in the description. We will see you guys very soon.